All right, so we're going to start up game 3. RNG has taken blue side, so G2 is on red side. And so I expect the draft to be very similar to their original in terms of the bans. I think that RNG has to ban the Heimerdinger, the Tom Kench, and the Akali, just because, as we saw last game, those were like all very effective picks that G2 knows how to play well around, and they got an example of the game of why those should be banned. So I think that should definitely be their blue side bans. I think that G2 will need to now adjust what they pick for their version of the 1-3-1 split push comp. I think that they should keep Yarden on the Varus, and I think that that is their best potential success even without the Tom Kench. And for RNG's side, I think you need to get another stronger 2v2 lane than Lucian and the Rakan. I think you need to pair the Lucian with something that has harder engage, because it didn't seem like they were able to do as much outside of the lane as they did originally with the Leona. So I'm interested to see what support pick they go to add with Uzi. I think the Lucian should be okay as a pick to bully the bot lane again. I don't think that they need to necessarily change that, because if the Akali is banned, the only potential thing they would have as a split pusher is Aurelia, and that's not nearly as bad as an Aurelia and Akali jumping on you. So as long as there's a decent front line for RNG and Uzi is on Lucian or something that has some kind of high carry potential, I think that's really good for them. So different adaptations that can come out from this draft for bans for G2. I think they had the Xayah Alistar Thresh the first time they were on red side. I think that they can change their bans accordingly now, based on what they've seen RNG play for 2 games. It seems that Let Me does not actually emphasize carry top laners as much as Wonder will, because they were playing the Shen into the Akali last game. They played the Urgot into the Aatrox. So I think actually banning the Urgot instead of banning Thresh would be a really good adaptation, because Let Me is probably not going to play Aatrox. It doesn't seem like that's the kind of champion he's willing to play, especially with these comps revolving a lot around Uzi. And if they do actually pick the Aatrox, then Wonder has the counter pick of another potential carry to play into it. Or just the Poppy as well, because Poppy is a really good counter pick into the Aatrox. So I'm interested to see how this actually goes down. We see the Heimer and Akali, the Xayah ban for G2, and the Talia ban. I forgot about that from the last game. I think that that's also a really good ban, which means that they're going to either be giving up Alistar or Urgot, depending on which one they do ban as their last one. I think that the Urgot ban is probably higher priority for them, just because you want Wonder to have an even greater advantage in this top lane, and they do end up going with the Urgot ban. So now that gives Alistar over to RNG as the first pick. Arguably, it's a really good pick for bot lane pressure for Uzi and Ming. They could actually win this bot lane super hard, depending on what the AD is for Uzi, whether it be Lucian or something else. And so G2 responds with the Aatrox pick, which will give top lane super good advantage, regardless probably of what's picked up there. It's probably going to be a tankier champion. And then the Braum to lane against the Alistar. I think it's an okay matchup against the Alistar. The Braum passive is just really potent in terms of the 2v2 skirmishing if they're able to take good trades. And so now Karsa goes with, looks like Lee Sin. Yep, he locks that in. So he's still focusing on really strong early game pressure with the Lee Sin and trying to affect the lanes. And then they also pick the Lissandra for Xiaohu again, potentially. Yep. So, I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with Xiaohu's Lissandra. I felt that even though it gave a lot of pressure to RNG's bot side, I felt that he was losing out too much on that pressure to bot side. And so G2 actually picks up Tristana, which is not what I would have expected or what I think they should be doing. I don't think that that's a smart pick to first pick your AD before you see what Uzi picks. Though I guess that means that they're going to try to get a mid lane counter pick then, or some kind of good advantage for Perks then, or Jankos. Okay, so it looks like they're actually more focused on a team fighting comp than with the Tristana and the Braum, which is not G2 style, and it doesn't seem to be like what they've stylistically done well in their group stage and play-ins. They also banned the Camille, which I don't like at all. I think that they should be banning 2 ADs right now since they have the Tristana, and they should be banning out stuff that Uzi could play into it for late game potential. Because, like I said before, I don't think Let Me is going to be playing a carry top against Wonder. He's probably just going to be put on a tank or something that can absorb the pressure. I think they should have banned Kai'Sa instead of Sivir if they're actually looking for late game contention, because Uzi can just pick that up right now on the first on this next rotation through, and he does. Also, another potential champion that they could have picked for Jankos was Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao is a really strong early game champion that can contend with Lee Sin. But they do keep picking the Gragas, which seems to be the comfort pick for Jankos. And then they respond with the Poppy pick, so it's actually the opposite of... or it's the same matchup that I was talking about before, with Poppy being really strong into Aatrox. And so they're looking at Swain. So yeah, G2 is really fully committed on a team fighting comp, which to me stylistically is what RNG wants them to do, because the bot lane 2v2 of Alistar Kai'Sa is so much stronger than Tristana Braum, just from the pure 2v2 pressure, and Perks actually does take Cassiopeia. So just looking at these two comps right now, top lane is winning for RNG. Jungle is about even in terms of the amount of pressure. I think Lee Sin is a bit stronger early game than Gragas until Gragas gets Predator boots to try to contend with him. The Lissandra versus Cassiopeia matchup is interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Xiaohu goes Aftershock like most people do, or if he's going to go more lane focused in terms of the rune page. The cleanse from Perks is good for the Lissandra. And then I don't like how G2 has drafted this team comp at all. I think that they're playing into the strengths of RNG, and I think RNG is just better at straight team fighting mechanics than G2 is. And it just goes against what G2's style is. So I guess we'll see how they actually play this game, but I could see this being RNG's game pretty easily to win, because they got the counter pick in top lane. They have a strong mid lane pick that's solid against Cassiopeia. Cassio's pretty immobile, so being able to catch her is going to be pretty easy if her cleanse is down. The Kai'Sa and the Tristana have both really good late game scaling, but I think the Kai'Sa is slightly better just in terms of the damage output plus the ultimate shield that she gets to self-peel. And again, the only threat that she'll actually have to deal with is Jankos or Wonder jumping in, because Wadid will probably be peeling for the Tristana. The Cassiopeia isn't going to go through that team to try to get to her. So Uzi actually has a really good team fighting comp built around him. So this will be interesting to see how he actually gets to play around this. So we're going to be starting off, seems like it's a basic level 1 that's going on. Oh, they might do something cheesy here. This is probably something that they saw in their review for each game. They actually get a first blood pick onto Uzi right there. That's a good adaptation, I think, just from how this series is going on. They probably saw how RNG was positioning just for like a straight 5-point across the map for level 1, that starting W on the Tristana to try to maybe catch out Uzi and do something cheeky like that is a good way to get an advantage. So Perks is already actually pretty far ahead now. He's got double Doran's shield, or double Doran's ring rather. So he's going to have a pretty strong laning advantage now against the Lissandra, who did not go after Shock. She actually did go more lane focused this time. So yeah, this is probably just like the 5-point adaptation that G2 made. It's actually lucky that they find him there, because starting W isn't as great for Tristana in terms of how well she can push, but we'll see how that actually affects the laning phase. So now Uzi will probably be able to out-bully and out-pressure this Tristana with the Alistar pick. So really this one hinges on how well they can neutralize bot lane with a carry versus carry matchup, and not like something like Varus or Jhin that has way more utility and safety. Because Tristana can definitely be like bullied super hard in laning phase. And I'm very interested to see what RNG does with that to deal with it. And Poppy, just being Poppy against Aatrox, she has really high base damages, and she has the ability to beat out Aatrox just in terms of how much damage she can output compared to him early game. Plus her W allows her to be able to block Aatrox's aggression onto her. So I actually really do like the Poppy pick from Let Me. I think that obviously carry versus carry, I think Wonder would probably win that, but realistically the counter pick of the Poppy is a good adaptation for RNG to have, and it's a good counter pick because it's going to definitely win lane. I think it should win lane against this Aatrox pick. So that actually goes a lot against what G2 wants to do to actually win the game and their win conditions just as a team in general. Oh, and they're going to take a trade on the bot lane. He probably will actually end up being dead, yep, because of the level 3 from both Ming and Uzi means that he's able to get the stun off from Alistar. That'll give Kai'Sa a third proc of her passive, making it easy to be able to just insta-pop the Braum. The exhaust was a little bit late because he probably didn't expect the amount of burst damage, but that's the strength of the Alistar Kai'Sa lane. It's just super potent and really good at killing and having really good kill pressure. And that's not a good sign for G2's bot lane if they're already getting 2v2 killed at level 3. I guess we'll take a look at it and see how that actually happened. So they're both level 2 right now. Oh, so they timed the engage based off of this caster minion. Let me go back, or this cannon, or this melee minion. Let me go back and point that out. So right here, this minion right here is what separates Ming and Uzi from getting level 3. So it looks like what they're going to do is Alistar is going to time his engage based off of when this minion will die. So this minion is about half health right now. Uzi is walking up to see if there's anybody in the river up here. And then as soon as that minion dies, they both get level 3. They're able to get the stun off. He dies from the Kai'Sa W plus the Kai'Sa proc of their passive, and that's actually that's a really heads-up play in the 2v2, and that actually just shows why there's such good 2v2. There's such a good 2v2 bot lane that they're able to take even a small advantage like a level 3 trade off of that and just get an advantage. So that's not good for that's not very good for G2's bot lane to be already this far behind. And that's the danger of trying to pick like a full team comp 5v5 fight. So it looks like they're going to try to dive Wonder here. They should be able to pull this off. That's a nice flash by Let Me to get the guaranteed stun off. He's dead now. So it looks like there's just this is probably going to end up snowballing really hard for RNG. Already having a kill in top lane over the Aatrox, who has no TP because he already had to TP back earlier from taking a bad early trade in top lane. So he's already going to be even further behind. And then this bot lane 2v2 getting killed at like 4 minutes, that also puts them super far behind. So it's really weird to see G2 drafting a full team fight comp. I guess it's just like it could be experimental to see like, can we actually make this kind of a team comp work. Oh, that's an unfortunate flash for Jankos because he wasn't in range for the body slam. So that loses yet another PowerPoint of pressure for G2 is losing the Gragas flash. That's actually pretty big, because now Karsa should be able to have free reign for the jungle for like the next 3 or 4 minutes or so, just getting ahead on tempo. And as I was saying before, it seems really weird for G2 to just draft this like full team fighting comp when the game they've won and the success that they've shown in terms of their map pressure is through their 1-3-1. And so seeing them try to go toe-to-toe with RNG just in a straight 5v5 team comp fight is a little bit strange for me to see. Just looking at like seeing what their relative strengths are as these two different teams. If you're trying to challenge RNG in a straight up 5v5, it doesn't feel like you're actually going to win that. So this gives Karsa access to the blue buff now that the Gragas had used his flash previously and he's on top side. So they just get to keep invading the jungle. They have Ming roaming around since he has his Moby boots, so that's a big power spike for him to be able to help influence the rest of the lanes and the jungle matchups. So now it's very clear that Uzi is very far ahead. They're going to definitely go for the same play of pushing down this tower in bot lane super quickly and then getting the first blood tower gold to Uzi and then moving his lead up to top side. And the important thing this game compared to the other two games is that there is no actual advantage for G2 anywhere in these lanes. Like Perks is arguably the closest one since he has a kill and he's only 3 CS down to this Lissandra right now. But Let Me is going to be so much stronger than Wonder right now, just on the Poppy versus the Aatrox matchup. And then that means that there's no threat of a split push from G2 from the top side. And since Cassiopeia isn't really a split pushing champion as much as Ryze or Aurelia from the last two games, it's going to be a lot harder for them to actually gain any pressure. So they could actually be bled out pretty slowly over the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how aggressive RNG is able to push Vision into the jungle, and if there are even any more solo kills or 2v2 kills across the map at this point. So this is good for Ming. He's going to be roaming around with Karsa to try to get more jungle pressure. There's about a 15 CS lead or so in top lane for this Poppy. Once she stacks a lot of armor, she can literally just run it down on the Aatrox and keep pressuring him off the side lane. The theoretical next point in which G2 could try to do something would be if Jankos, once his Predator boots are up, to see if he's able to try to get a play. It's going to be really hard, I think, to gank bot lane, seeing as Alistar's ult makes him really hard to kill, plus Kai'Sa ult also makes her really hard to kill. So they would have to make some kind of play probably under the tower and throwing the cask to hit one of them back. And it looks like he's pressuring down on bot side, so let's see if that's actually what they do here. So it looks like he's going to try to throw the cask over the wall. Yep, to throw him in. Get a stun down onto Uzi. He's forced to use his ult. Alistar. Oh, that's a big 3-man ult. And he flashes to get Hjarnan even closer. They burn out Xiaohu's TP. Aatrox does not have his TP to respond because he probably had to TP back to lane. So he has no way of entering the fight or getting any kind of advantage. That was really well played by Ming right there, getting a 3-man knockup and then flash knocking the Tristana closer to Uzi and almost actually killing him as well. So that was about as well as RNG could have actually played that dive right there and that counterplay to the gank. And it was the right idea by G2 with the cask to try to force him in, because they actually probably could have killed him if they didn't get the 3-man knockup on the Alistar. So it was a good attempt to try to at least make a comeback play, but now it's probably going to actually put them further behind because they could not execute as cleanly as they could have. And it looks like Let Me and Karsa are going to just get another invade onto Jankos in the jungle. They're probably going to try to catch him as he goes to Wraiths. Yeah, that's what it looks like right now. So that was really good, really well executed. The Poppy W keeps Jankos from being able to get away. He doesn't flash because he's probably just going to get flashed on by Karsa and Let Me anyway, so it's good to save the flash there for a future usage. And now because... Oh, this is interesting. They actually don't send... They don't get the first tower. They just straight send Uzi to top lane to try to get the Rift Herald pressure, which is actually pretty good, seeing as the rest of the map is pretty far ahead for RNG. They're already at about a 1.5k gold lead at 11 minutes, which is a significantly good enough lead. I think they win this 2v2. It depends on how quickly the Tristana does it. Actually, Tristana does... Yeah, he does have his spell rotation. So he's able to get the first blood gold onto Hjarnan. That catches him up a significant amount, even with all the CS that he lost. Oh, that's an unfortunate cast right there. It doesn't knock Xiaohu back, it just knocks him into the wall. But yeah, getting the Tristana first tower gold is actually pretty good, I would say. Because it keeps... It's really just so it keeps Uzi from getting that advantage early on. So this is kind of what I expected, though, seeing the draft. Seeing that RNG is being challenged on a straight 5v5 teamfight scale, it seems like they are definitely a lot better mechanically than G2, just in terms of trying to create this advantage. The early kills are really what hurt a lot of G2's pressure right now, because Poppy, once she stacks all this armor, she's able to just straight bully Wonder. He's a level down on it as well. This gives Karsa so much room to just push up and do a lot of pressure in the jungle. So it looks like they're going to go for a play here. Ming's ultimate should keep him safe for the time being. He does get chunked out pretty hard, but again, it's not there's not a lot of kill pressure right there because the rest of RNG is there to help try to collapse in case they do commit more. And this just gives more time for Poppy to be able to split push on bot side. I think what they're doing right now is giving Hjarnan in the side lane to try to get farm to catch back up. I'm not sure why he didn't jump away there. I feel like he probably could have... I think Hjarnan could have probably buster shotted right there and then jumped backwards to try to get away. That's a weird... That seems just like a flub of something. So... That death gives them pressure in the top lane, and they're probably going to end up getting top lane pressure off that. Karsa is down bot side to pressure the Aatrox off of the tower right there, so Poppy should be able to get the tower gold for that. And RNG is basically just taking this gold lead that they have. Wonder is forced to pop his ultimate, so now that safety net is gone. Karsa is just super strong and super far ahead right now. So... Talking about the itemization right now for Kai'Sa, it seems that like the main school of thought for whether you build the AP or the AD build depends heavily on what the enemy's team comp is. I found that it's a lot more successful to build the AP build when there's a lot of beefy frontliners that Kai'Sa's passive is able to take advantage of, dealing like 15% of their max health every proc. And then also having the really good poke damage from her W. And in this case, there's not really that big of a front line. There's Aatrox, who's not really going to be building any tank items, more of just like the bruiser items. There's Jankos, who's going to go the full AP build early on, and then probably get a Knight's Vow or some kind of defensive item later, but it stalls out on his overall tankiness until about like 20-25 minutes or so. So he's not really that big of a front line. The Cassio is not a front line. The Tristana is a squishy champion. And the Braum is probably like one of the beefier ones, just with the unbreakable shield. But at the same, so it does make sense that Kai'Sa does go the crit build with Stormrazor first item, and then she'll build that into Guinsoo's. So that's the reasoning behind that defensive item. Perks has his Seraphs finished, but he's looking like he's not going to be able to impact the map too much already. The one item spikes for all of these champions are much stronger than G2's, I believe, because especially with this big of an early lead, like they're about like 3k ahead right now at 15 minutes. So that's a pretty significant advantage that is going to be really hard for G2 to come back from. All they have to do is try to find a pick with the Gragas or the Braum again, but if RNG puts Alistar in front to face check, he can just use his ultimate to get out for free. So it's really going to be interesting to see what kind of pressure G2 can put on this game, if any at all at this point. Because they still have really good scaling. They have really good scaling between the Cassiopeia and the Tristana. So if they're able to stall out this game, they'll probably have the damage to kill the front line of RNG. Because the only true frontliners for RNG are the Poppy and the Alistar, who both can do pretty well in terms of stalling out damage. So they need this game to go to about like 40 minutes or 45 minutes probably before they really get online. And Hjarnan pushing out the top lane to try to get some more tower gold for himself. This is the thing that you can do with Tristana, of putting her in these lanes to try to break outer towers quickly, to try to open up the map a little bit more. But RNG is responding by 4-manning the inner tower and bot lane, so that gives them a pretty significant advantage in terms of the map pressure. Looks like Hjarnan is going to have to probably ult this Poppy away or just jump out. Oh, he actually burns his flash and his heal to get out of that. So that's a really good play by Let Me. It just shows how these champions are so much further ahead and they're very tanky, and it's going to be really hard for G2 to actually come back in this game unless they're able to stall this game out a lot. But with the Kai'Sa pick, it makes RNG's Baron super easy to actually execute on because of how much damage she does to it. And then the Lissandra is much more damage focused. She's not that aftershock Lissandra that we normally see. So she actually does have kill pressure, I believe, on Cassiopeia and on Hjarnan at this point in time. So she's able to match whatever split push pressure G2 is trying to put out on the map. So Cassiopeia does have about like a 20-ish CS lead on the Lissandra, but that's about it, I would say. She's finished with her Rylai's and her Seraphs now, so she's on 2 items. It appears that Lissandra is going for, it looks like a Banshee's Veil, I would say, with those 2 items. Either that or she's going for Azonia's with a Blasting Wand just as extra AP damage. Kai'Sa is starting to work on her Gwynsu's right now. So she is a lot further ahead than Hjarnan just by CS numbers and just the total amount of gold that they've gotten for Uzi. So I would say right now the best thing that RNG can do is keep these side lanes pushed in and start moving together as a unit into the top side of G2's jungle to start clearing out their pink wards and get their own vision so that they can just do Baron. Because once RNG's comp gets Baron, it's almost impossible for G2 to actually defend against that, because the side lane pressure of Poppy and Lissandra is so much greater than the Aatrox and the Cassiopeia this game, which allows RNG to move across the map to get a really good advantage and to be able to close this game out a lot faster than they normally would be able to if they hadn't had this big of a lead. So Uzi's going to take the Ocean Dragon. So now it's even in Ocean Drakes 1-1. Looks like G2 is going to try to collapse on Xiaohu, but it's more just to clear out the vision. So again, the best thing, this will be interesting if Kai'Sa goes in with the Poppy. Now it looks like she's just shadowing to try to get a kill or to burn the ultimate on Aatrox. Because they can do the same thing that they did in the first game against this Aatrox pick, is try to send Karsa or Uzi to the Poppy to try to burn the Aatrox ult, and then look in that time window when it's down to try to force something across the map. Whether it be Baron, whether it be trying to take one of the outer towers and topside, they need to be looking to continue to snowball this gold lead that they are curing right now. And actually Hjarnan is even with Uzi in terms of items right now, in terms of the Tristana being at 2 items and Kai'Sa being at 2 items, but it looks like they're going to do the same strategy that I was talking about, popping the Aatrox ult. Oh, and they're actually going to hard commit for this to actually kill him, probably. They use the Lee Sin ultimate, and they're going to probably pick up this kill. So now that's really good. The split pusher of G2 is down for 30 seconds, which means that they can try to establish some control on the Baron, or just push in for vision on bot side to let this Lissandra continue to safely split push. So it looks like they're going to try to just steal away the top or the bot side camps for G2. Right now, what RNG should really still be doing is getting more pressure in the top side. Lissandra is going to draw a lot of pressure in the bottom lane. Oh, looks like they're going to commit for this kill. It seems like they're going to be able to kill Xiaohu here since he has no ultimate, no flash. But that means that RNG is going to be able to do Baron because of the Alistar tanking and the Kai'Sa being able to do the damage. So it's a good idea to attack the split pusher from G2 to get some lane pressure back, but I believe that RNG is just going to straight take this Baron, and they're going to trade the inner tower or the outer tower of mid lane for that. And it seems like because they are not in position to actually take the Baron, that's a free Baron for RNG, which to be able to get it with that little investment in vision in the top side is actually huge for them, and it kind of shows how big of a lead they really have on G2 right now. They're at a 5k gold lead right now without anything taken from Baron. So right now, they just need to focus on getting the top inner tower and the mid inner tower, and then letting probably the Lissandra, since she has TP, or the Poppy, depending on who they'll send, down in bot lane and just pressure the inhib tower. It's probably going to be the Lissandra since she has an easier time actually hitting the inhib tower than a Poppy would. And so they're going to just run the mid lane minions down to see if they can try to get some chip damage on this tower. So RNG doesn't have to actually move up here until they get their side lane pushed in with Baron. The Poppy's going to be on the top side. Lissandra and Lee Sin are going to be near the bot side. They're looking basically just to get the pressure across the map right now with Baron. So the way G2 actually will have to defend this is by keeping these lanes pushed out as long as they possibly can, because from what it looks like, RNG is going to want to shove in this bot lane and then maybe look to collapse on a fight under the mid inner tower. Since they're so far ahead, they can probably afford to dive, and it is a Banshee's Veil by Lissandra. So now she's going to be able to just jump in pretty uncontested and try to disrupt a team fight. I think that maybe Azonia's could be a better item second for Lissandra, just because of how much stalling she's still able to do, even if she's not taking Aftershock. I guess it's okay for just in general, but I would like to see a Zonia's second item and maybe a Banshee's third item. I'm not sure if the Banshee's is as necessary for her in terms of item build, but the other big thing, oh, there we go. So RNG basically just dives onto Wonder. He doesn't even get a chance to ult because of how much damage the Lee Sin puts out with his ultimate and the Lissandra ultimate, so it looks like they were able to just one-shot Hjarnan. They're going to kill Let Me probably for this, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because RNG is basically just going to run it down through the inhib tower. They kill Yankos here, and that's probably going to be honestly game right now. They tried to commit for a top lane kill onto the Poppy, but it looks like that RNG was literally just so strong that they dove under the towers. And so this is actually going to be a sub 30-minute win for RNG, and it should. And this is a pretty dominant performance right here. So they were able to just basically run it through the towers on the inhibs. G2 did not have the damage or the mobility to actually deal with the Lissandra or the Alistar or the Kai'Sa. It's very clear that this gold lead ended up being about 9k or so at the end of the day right here. So I think that G2 really needs to go back to their split pushing strategy. They need to go back to their 1-3-1 comp that actually gives their laners a significant advantage over G2's or over RNG's solo laners. I did not like the team comp, and it was very clear that G2 was not as comfortable executing this team comp as they are on their 1-3-1 team comp. So I'm looking for them to take blue side, which they should in game 4, and then trying to get some of those priority picks using the same strategy of banning Aatrox or Urgot, forcing RNG to ban the other one, and then getting at least one of those picks, whether it be Kench or Akali. I think that G2 will probably get Kench over Akali, but we'll see how that draft goes next game. So RNG is up 2-1 after a successful 5-on-5 team fighting and successful mechanics in their lanes to get advantages over G2.